A few years ago, through some YouTube videos, I discovered an intriguing game, a game that interested me a lot. It was Diplomacy. And after watching these videos that were available on YouTube, and they weren't many at that time, I decided, you know what, I want to try this game. It seems fun. It's like chess, but with negotiations, exactly like chess without random chance. And it seems like my cup of tea. But maybe I won't be able to do anything. I joined a random game on Web Diplomacy. I'm taking the place of France, because previous France was banned from the site before the game even started. So I'm playing since spring 1901 as a France, substituting another player that was maybe cheating and it was banned. That's not important. The important part is that I was happy to be France, because France, I had heard at that time that it was an easy power, maybe the stronger power on the board, an easy power for beginners, and I am definitely a beginner. I have no idea how to play this game other than theoretical knowledge. So I contact my neighbors, contact Germany, normal press, and I contact the other players as well. Everything goes smoothly until I contact England. England gave me a really interesting lesson in my very first game of Diplomacy. Because as your first game, you don't want to do anything strange, you know? You've seen players and videos on YouTube, and you saw that the most common opening as France with Brest moving to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, for example. So I wanted to move my fleet to Mid-Atlantic Ocean. That means that you have to demilitarize the English Channel, meaning that you want to agree with England that no one enters the English Channel, so that you're not threatening to each other and you can go your separate ways, at least in 1901. So I contact England and I ask just that. And let me show you the response that England gave me. This was a very interesting lesson on how not to negotiate in diplomacy. When I asked, would you like to make the English Channel a DMZ? England responds, I'm afraid that would completely stop me from acting. Now, this is wrong on so many counts. First of all, what do you mean? It's not true. It's even I, that have never played at this point, know that that's not true. I've seen countless games on YouTube in which England opens to Norwegian Sea and North Sea. England is not forced to open to English Channel. They can, it's a legitimate opening. I do open like that as England quite often, but it's not the only opening. Also, if you want to open to English Channel as England, you shouldn't tell that to France, because at that point France will just bounce you. That means that if you intend to enter the English Channel as England, you should agree to the DMZ and then immediately violate it. And if you don't want to go to English Channel, you should agree to the DMZ and not move there. So agreeing to the DMZ is the most common thing, either if you want to move there or if you don't want to move there. The only case in which you should not agree is if you have any reason to ask for a bounce. If you think, no, I don't trust this France, they will open to the English Channel, I just have this feeling, and at the same time I don't want to open to English Channel myself without telling France, then you can say to France, you know what, let's bounce in the English Channel, let's both move there. But the response that England is giving me is, one, untrue, and two, nonsensical, because at that point I'm forced to move to English Channel as well, unless I want an English fleet there. So I, that have never played before, try to explain to England that I presume had played some games before, unless this was also their first game, which is a possibility, and I don't want to pick on England, because England could be at their first game too. But if this is England's first game, why are they being so presumptuous? If it's your first game, you don't want to tell people stuff like, I'm afraid they would completely stop me from acting. If that's your first game, you don't know that. I know, now that I have experience, that this was a very stupid message to send from England. But if England is an experienced player, this is a very stupid message. And if England is a new player, then why send this message? Why not say, I don't know, does it make sense? Or do we want to bounce or stuff like that? Anyway, I explained to England that they could try to take Norway, engage Russia. I even proposed a possible Western triple. They just say, have you agreed that with Germany? By the way, they're not giving me any reason to like them. They're very unlikable so far in their communication, very cold and unfeeling in a way. And diplomacy is a game of relationship, especially at low levels. And this is a very low level game. It is my first game. So I say, not yet, I'm asking you. Me and Germany are in good terms though, you should join us. Trying to occupy the English Channel would just result in a bounce. So I tell them, if you try to occupy the English Channel, I will bounce you. At this point, I'm expecting that they will tell me either, okay, let's bounce, or okay, let's DMZ it, sorry, I agree now. And then I have to decide if I want to trust them and move to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, or if I don't want to trust them and move to English Channel anyway. But they don't respond, which is strange. It tells me, okay, I have to move to English Channel. There is no other way. I don't want to do this. This is my first game. I never saw a game actually on YouTube at this point in which France opens to English Channel. I don't want to do something that I don't know how to do, but I have to do it. I know that England, I don't want England in the English Channel in my first game as France. So I do it. I move to English Channel, and the most amazing thing happens. England doesn't move there. He refused my proposal for a DMZ in the English Channel, and then he doesn't even move there. So their response was doubly stupid. Because, first of all, it was a quite stupid thing to say, either if you want to move to English Channel, or if you don't want to move. But then, they don't give me a response when I say that I'm gonna bounce them, and then they don't move there, allowing a French fleet in the English Channel. And you want to know what's the worst part? This was not the worst message that England sent me. The next message that England sent me was the worst one. England told me, disappointed in your actions. What? I mean, you asked for me to move to English Channel. You basically told me to do so, because you told me I am not prepared to agree to a DMZ in the English Channel. That means that I have to move to English Channel. So I say, look, that was not an offensive but a defensive move. You have never agreed with my proposal, so I thought we were gonna bounce in the English Channel. And then I lie and I say I moved away, I have no intentions in uselessly taking London, I didn't stab you, you never said yes. And that is all true. And then I say, you clearly told me you didn't want the channel as a DMZ. And then I senselessly apologize. I have actually nothing to apologize about, but I don't know. This is my first game. I have no frame of reference. This was the weirdest England I've ever encountered in my first game. I never encountered such a weird, because usually if you found a newer player, they will be more modest than this. And if you find an experienced player, they will be less stupid than this, frankly. So, with no frame of reference, I actually apologize to England, and then they go on to talk about me supporting them into Belgium, which of course I'm not gonna do. And then England continues being stupid, because in the next turn, when I moved to Irish Sea, and I was in English Channel, so England knew that they had an anti-English fleet in English Channel, they antagonized Germany by moving North Sea to Denmark. Why? I mean, why deprive Germany of a build in a situation in which you have France against you? First of all, you have caused France to be against you. And second of all, why are you antagonizing Germany? I don't know what they're telling to Germany. Maybe they're telling them stuff as aggravating as the stuff that they're telling me, but at least with me, they're just antagonizing me with words. With Germany, they antagonize them with moves as well. This is the exact opposite of what you should do as any country, both on the negotiation side of things and with the moves. Because why antagonize your other neighbor when you have already antagonized one of your neighbors, which is now, because of your words, moving against you? Now, this was my first game. I made many mistakes, but more or less England was dead in 1904. I had a very tight alliance with Germany, facilitated by England's nonsensical way of playing, And in this game, I learned the hard way more for England than for me, actually, considering how things went. I learned how not to play diplomacy. Don't be so cold and unfeeling in your press. Don't be aggravating in your press. Don't disagree with proposals that you have no reasons to disagree with, and don't deny a DMZ to a player if you're not prepared to counter your adversary's moves into that area. And worst of all, don't antagonize your other neighbors with moves that are against them when you have another enemy. And most of all, don't blame on your enemy the fault of your actions. Because when England told me disappointed in your actions, even if I had no frame of reference, I thought to myself, and I still think to myself when I think about my first game of diplomacy, that I had no fault in doing what I did. They asked for it. So why are they disappointed? They should be disappointed in themselves. Let's not judge England too much. Maybe this was one of their first games, and probably they hadn't seen YouTube videos, they knew nothing about how diplomacy works and DMZ in English channel and stuff like that. But they could have told me, they could have been modest, they could have told me I don't even know what DMZ means. In which case, this was my first game, I would have not taken advantage of that. Don't do this. This is the exact opposite of what diplomacy should look like, and it's a recipe for disaster. Most of all, though, own your decisions. Don't blame the hostile moves that you receive on your adversaries, because sometimes you may have called for it. You may have caused it. So before you scream and say you're disappointed or angry or that they've ruined your game or stuff like that, think about, did I bring this on to myself? If so, learn from it. Anyway, this was my guide on how not to negotiate. See you next time.